I'm the host of the New Republic show right now. I'm honored to be joined by Congressman Khanna of California. Congressman, welcome.
Good to be back on.
And I want to start with you just to ask the big news of the day. What do you think about the Senate Democrats, 8 of them join the Republicans in this apparent deal to end the government shutdown?
It's such a moral surrender. Yesterday I was at an airport. A young man came up to me and said, Congressman Khanna, Congressman Khanna. I said, I thought he wanted a selfie. And he showed me on his phone that his father, who's in Arizona, a taxi driver, is going to have his premium go up from $44 a month to $2,600 a month. His father is fighting cancer. The deductible is going to go up to $6,000 a year. These are real lives. And it was a total surrender that was not needed. We could have at least gotten a year-long extension. And that's why I became the first member of Congress to call for Chuck Schumer to step down and be replaced as the minority leader.
Explain that. Why should Schumer step down?
Well, first of all, some of the senators who voted yes were asked explicitly today, was leadership consulted or did you do this rogue? And they all said leadership was consulted. So he gave the green light for this deal. And anyone who's covered Congress or been part of one of these bodies knows how this stuff works. If Schumer really didn't want this to happen, he could have at least come out publicly and said these folks are defying what I want. But he didn't do that. He was basically orchestrating a deal, and that I respect Senator Schumer's role in the Biden administration. He was critical on the CHIPS Act. He and I co-led that together. In the House, in the Senate, he was critical on the Inflation Reduction Act. He was critical on infrastructure. This is not taking away from him, but he's just not up for the fight that we have right now. And it's time for him to retire.
Is there some better person there? I don't know, Senator Schatz, Senator Murray. Do you want to give a name here?
Well, look, it's up for them, but I like Van Hollen. I mean, if you're asking me, I like, not that my voice on this is going to matter for what two senators pick, but I've been impressed with Van Hollen's moral clarity on key issues.
So talk to me about somebody in the comments noted Chris Murphy, another person who I had.
I like Chris. I like Brian Schatz. I mean, I'm not. I just my call was that that Schumer should be replaced. Now, what's so surprising to me is there haven't been this hasn't been a chorus yet. I mean, some of the candidates running, like Graham Plattner and Seth Moulton and all have, but it seems so obvious that Schumer is out of touch with the base. I mean, here's someone who had championed the Iraq War. He's someone who championed a blank check to Netanyahu. He's someone who didn't campaign for Zoran Mamdani. He's someone who was basically caved in the first shutdown, and now he's caving again. And like I said, it's not personal. I've recognized where he has made contributions, but it is time.
Let me go through and just give the argument, just hear what you say about the argument that this deal was necessary. I think they would say SNAP benefits stop, airplanes getting delayed. No sense the like the ACA premiums are going up, but there's no sense the Republicans are going to move on that as far as I can tell. So their view, the members who have come out, I think they've said something logical, which is like the stakes for individuals in America were getting worse from this shutdown, and there was no sense that the Republicans were going to change policy. So even if we were sort of winning in the polls, there was nothing, we couldn't really win the policy. So let's move on. That seems like how do you respond to that argument?
Well, first of all, I think that they were moving the Republicans. You had Michael Lawler, a Republican, saying, let's do a 1-year extension. So I agree that the permanent extension may have been very hard, but we could have gotten some relief for a year. Secondly, if you didn't think Republicans were going to move on this, then why did you make this the issue of the shutdown in the first place? I mean, obviously, there was some sense that the Republicans would move on this, or it was a total tactical miscalculation to make this the issue. And then third, Trump was floundering. I mean, he was saying, look, this is why we lost the election. And I would have been fine if he had said, okay, we're going to get rid of the filibuster. At least that would have been something that would have been an advance for democracy to do. But we ended up just caving. We ended up not helping people. And then the question is that then what did we achieve to improve people's lives?
And the answer you say is almost nothing from the
Well,
shutdown.
look, I think we clarified for folks that the Affordable Care Act is important, and and the Republicans have no interest in lowering their costs, and that their premiums are going to go up because of the Republican callousness. We've clarified that the insurance process is broken. This is the time to argue for Medicare for all. Many people are saying if you're not for Medicare for all now, then you're not part of the understanding where people's struggles are. By the way, Barry, you and I talk to folks who are working class, and many of them will say that the biggest fear is healthcare, right? They can deal with a lot of other stuff, but if they get into a car accident, if they have an accident at work, the amount of people who then have to get a GoFundMe page because of the deductibles or the costs, that's the single biggest issue of someone falling from a normal life to not having a decent life. And so we need to be making the case for Medicare for all at this moment.
Last thing I want to close on is there was a great election on Tuesday that your party really did well in. So it's sort of weird to see if you doubted where the public was, we had a big, people running out of their houses to vote in New Jersey and Virginia to signal they don't like Trump in a lot of ways. I'm sort of stunned by this capitulation so quickly after the election. Are you?
Well, I am not from a matter of politics, but we just had people affirm for us that they wanted us to stand up to the lawlessness. They wanted us to stand up to the cruelty of this president. Part of the cruelty of this president is taking away people's health care, and they said we have your back. We know we don't love the Democratic Party, but we have your back. We're going to come out in record numbers to vote for you because we're on the streets and we don't like what this president's doing. And I think that should have given us the confidence to continue to fight. Now, I understand people are going without SNAP benefits. I was stuck at an airport for 7 hours yesterday in Fort Worth to get my flight. I get that this is not easy with Thanksgiving coming up. I'm not indifferent to the suffering. But if we had held our moral ground, I believe we could have addressed that suffering while getting some relief on the Affordable Care Act premiums, or having Donald Trump say we're going to get rid of the filibuster. And instead, why is it that the Democrats always seem like we're the ones that fold? I guess the answer they say is, well, we're the adults in the room, but. The point is, in this case, the adults in the room defending a status quo that isn't working. That's been part of the problem why we've gotten Donald Trump, because we've kind of said, let's just keep the institutions running. And the American people are saying these institutions have been shafting us. We don't want the same institutions. And I think that's the fundamental disconnect between some of the folks in the establishment and some of the younger folks like Zoran and progressives and others who are saying, no, we need change.
I guess the last thing real last question is, I hate to say this, but does this help the people who are trying to change the party, Zoran, Graham Plattner, Bernie Sanders, Khanna? Does it help you make that case that Schumer is discrediting himself, I would say?
Well, look, obviously I was much more excited on Tuesday night when I could
Yeah.
celebrate Zoran, Abigail, and Mikey,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, here the party is finally coming together, and I don't like the fact that
Okay.
that I put out a tweet on Wi-Fi on my airplane because I was still in the airport, and it gets 4 million views and is going viral. But I was surprised because I was ready to be hit the way I was hit when I endorsed Graham Plattner, and the way I was hit when I have taken stances on calling what happened in Gaza a genocide because the ICJs found that. I thought, okay, here it comes. I'm going to get hit again. And to my surprise, a lot of Democrats, even not progressives, agreed with me and said, "You know what, Ro, you're right about this one." And so I just think that this is a moment where the Democratic Party is realizing more broadly they may disagree with me on Medicare for all, they may disagree with me on Gaza, but they agree with me that we need a new generation of leadership.
And on that note, Congressman Khanna, thanks for joining me. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks.